Hello there, and as usual, I'm Aaron from Laststandgamers, and welcome. So today I thought we'd take a trip back in time to have a look at the first ever video that I created in Space Engineers, just to see how much the game has changed. So as we jump in straight here, you can see the astronaut. Look at the basicness of that suit. There's not much reflection, there's no really detailed mapping or bump mapping on it. And just look at the platform, it's so different from what you'd expect today. You can see parts of the hood down on the left and the right with this simple grainy type value. And as we're moving around and looking around the sky blocks here, I think we saw the blue ship up there as well. We can see the red ship on the right, and we've got some basic block placement. This was my first time in the game, so I was trying to kind of experience it and explain the understandings of the basic space. Wow, look at that cockpit though. Look at that, there's no glass, you can't see through it, it's not clear. Them thrusters as well, they're in a really basic sort of form. There's no detailing like you see in the thrusters today. And at this point in the game experience, there was no hydrogen, there was no atmospheric, in fact there was no even planets, there'd be no need for an atmospheric thruster, but it still had the core mechanics that this game built itself on, and things that we all love. And you can see the voxel damage down there on the bottom right, as well as the voxel damage to the ship. And of course, over the years, as they came through alpha, beta, and finally the release, they expanded upon this and built some really unique systems, as well as refining the blocks as they went on. I don't think I could deal with the thrusters if they still look like this. They still have a rather cool nozzle type look. They do look very, very simple. Now as we come over to the red ship, a classic ship that we have missed for a very, very long time on this simple starter platform. This was what Space Engineers was all about. You can see also the character movement. There's no drift in the character. There's no sort of ragdoll effect. He's very stiff and standard. And now here it is. The first ship I ever built. And many people ask about this all the time. What was the first ship? What did it look like? And this was a ship that I called the Kitchen. An absolute mess of a craft, in my opinion. Where you can see we've got these large areas, we've got this sort of hangar at the top. It made no sense. Oh god, look at that old Gatling turret. It had this sort of flat bottomed area as well, and at this point in the game the Gatling turrets didn't work. They were just a pure looks type block, and I thought you'd be standing behind them to man them, so that's why I placed them. So now as we come inside, we've got the cargo containers that are incredibly more detailed, the pillars themselves, but a lot of the blocks have remained the same in shape and style. Of course, these catwalk blocks have changed just a little bit as well, and how the lighting gives off that effect has totally changed as well. A massive update a while ago updated how the lighting effect shines on different things, and looking back on it, it is very, very bleak. Ladders, classic ladders. When ladders were taken out of the game, it caused a lot of problems in the community. A lot of them really upset, and you can see there was no windows, so you had to use these cool little vents as well. So it has really came on in the amount of different sort of blocks that you can place. As we move around this cargo bay with these randomly placed blocks, we head to the back of the ship. Just look at the low textures of the wall. And I remember I was running this on the highest quality at the time. And you can see the old sort of ladder animation, not too much different than the new one, but I was told that at this time these ladders would send a ship going crazy, especially if you were moving. The idea of walking about in a ship at this time while it was moving was just not possible. You'd be drifting all over the place, and just outside that window is the first ever base, but I built these cool little sleeping bays as well. So here's the first base. We've got loads of cool docking ports, something I'd really like to probably rebuild again, the exact same base but with all the new blocks that are available to us. So let's skip along just a little bit and we'll move on to exploring the base itself. So we've got a load production area. Even at this time I was planning out these really elaborate builds, and there we go. You had no option at all about turning these auto saves on at this moment, so if you liked it or not, your world was going to be saved. And I think the first little invention we're going to have a look at here is an elevator. So these elevators were really simple in design at this time. They use just a little bit of a cockpit to get up and down the floor. So if we pop into there, it uses a ship to get us up and down between the floors. And of course these were janky as hell. If you caught the wrong direction on one of the blocks, you'd have sorts of problems. And you can see that there's no thruster damage going on at this moment in time either. But that was a simple sort of elevator at the time, and people have got really advanced with pistons and rotors that at this time did absolutely nothing. It was purely just a blocks game. So we've got another cool little hangar bay, poorly lit because too many lights would cause a considerable performance drop. So as we come up to the top floor here, I can't remember what was up on this area. I think it was just a walkway, more docking for this system or station type area. And I remember this really pushed the game to its limits at this time. This small, well, I'd call it a small station now. So as we come back in here, we're walking through the various catwalks and sections. I tried to build them out as best as I could. You've got one of them flat missile launchers on the side there. And we've got a very early prototype of what Henry would end up being on the platform, but we need to get down to that stage. Let's go out here. So on the right, we're going into the refinery room first. Look at that. These old reactors and old refinery sort of systems. Loads of landing pads. Red ship's still out there on the platform. That was a sort of lowering hangar. I was experimenting at this time with so many different things. I was really pushing the game to its limits. And here we go. We have a very early Henry. If you know anything about the Henry ship, we've got the nacelles on either side, and we've got the cockpit smack bang on the front there. And the whole idea of this cargo version was that he could lower down into these sort of tunnel type segments. Let's just skip ahead a little bit. And he could skirt underneath the base, delivering supplies to various different points. But at this time, we didn't really have any supplies. Mining wasn't a thing. You had basic ores and components, but the whole survival scenario or survival situation didn't even exist. So we didn't know what to expect. So as we skip through, we've got various hangars and we come back up to the refinery. But you can see we have no glass. So we've been installing these little venti blinds. It looks so old. I mean, if Space Engineers was still like this and it hadn't been updated, would I still be playing it today? I really don't think I would have. Old asteroid type skybox. At this time, people were sticking planets in the background, doing all sorts of things to try to make the game come to life a little bit more. Let's just skip through a little bit more. So now we're on top of the facility where the control tower is, as well as these various different pathways. And you can see that we've got some asteroids over there on the right. So real asteroids. And the problem at this time is once you'd left this area where the asteroids were actually placed, there was nothing. It was just blank space as long as you can see. So let's skip a little further forward. And we're in one of the smaller hangars. At this point, there was no airtight doors. There was nothing like that. So you just had to have open sort of hangars. And on top of this, the biggest factor is there was no multiplayer. So you're alone. You're pretty much ever alone in space with whatever you decided to build. Anyway, I'd like to thank you guys for watching. It's been probably an amazing experience just looking through and seeing how far this game has come. This station is definitely going to be something that I work on in the future and try to rebuild with some modern blocks and the latest in Space Engineers technology. The ship, though, I don't think that's going to see the light of day again. Anyway, I'd like to thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you've enjoyed a little bit of a look at the past, and I will see you next time.